Hey folks, it's Arthur, but my friends call me Archie. This podcast episode is sponsored by you. If you have a more personal situation you want me to give my in-depth commentary on, please send me an email. Thank you to everyone who contributes to keep this channel up and running. Appreciate that. So today I have such a short letter, and Um, yeah, I appreciate this person. We'll call them B. They say to me, let me just read this for you. It's so funny. It says, "Hey Archie, quick question. How do I pick up girls? Thanks." I think this is gonna be like a much more chill kind of situation. I think I'm just gonna kind of be talking here. It's gonna be much more chill, as if I was talking to one of my friends or one of my nephews or something. So, actually, I had one of my nephews ask me a similar situation, a similar question a few weeks ago. They were telling me about this girl that they wanted to pick up and how they wanted to get her number. And, he kind of just left it at that he wanted to get the number. And it was like, you see these kids, right? And you ask them just one question that's just a little bit below the surface. He's like, "Yeah, I'm so excited to meet with her, and I want to get her number." And so you ask him one question, just a little bit below the surface, just to see what they'll say. And so I said, "And what are you gonna do after you get her number?" And he's 15, and so he looks at me and he just goes like, and he just has to think about it. And I think that in a lot of ways, it's like the dog chasing the car. And what are you chasing the car for? What are you chasing the girl for? Why do you want to get her number? And I think just to take one more step and to say, why do you want to do it, I think can really help us get a good look of what your intention is going into this whole situation. So I grew up in kind of the time that was of early YouTube, and there are a lot of pickup artists start to come up. And so I see one and another pickup artist, and I think to myself at this time, like, okay, I gotta write this down. Like, what's the line that they said? What's the word that they said? Some of them are more based in science, and that women are like this or like that or the other. And so finally, I think I tried one of these pickup lines myself, and it just failed brutally. Just terrible, terrible failure. And so I asked myself, like, a few years later, what was my intention going into that? What did I want going into that? And I wanted, the girl to reciprocate my feelings. But why? What was I going to do with that reciprocated feeling? You know? I think it was really just in order to validate me and validate that a person could feel about me the same way that I felt about them. So I was just looking for validation, looking for reciprocation. I was looking for a sense of maybe security and knowing that I'm wanted, is such a important thing that is understandable that people want to feel. People want to feel wanted. It makes total sense, you know. So, but this is such an important thing to talk about when you say, "How do I pick up girls?" Because it's like, why do you want to pick up girls? And this is the first question. This is how you pick up girls has a lot to do with why you pick up girls. There are multiple situations. If you want to pick up a girl for one day, your strategy is going to be totally different than if you want to pick up a girl for a lifetime. You know, the way that you approach the things that you talk about, what you're evaluating in the person. A lot of times, both people are valuable. If I approach a woman or a woman approaches me, we're both valuable in our own right. And so you you evaluate the person for how they're going to fit into your life, from my point of view, right? So let's say that there's a gentleman that's going to pick up a girl, and he's going to pick up a girl because he wants to have a one night stand with her, right? He just wants to have some physical chemistry with this girl and call it a night, right? And so the way that he might pick up the girl is that he might tell her about how attractive she is, and he might go about really trying to entice those physical prowess, if you will, right? And so, but because his intention is short term and it's for that night. And so, the way that you would pick up a girl that night, first of all, it doesn't have so much to do with what you say. It has more to do with how a girl goes into this scenario. For example, you're going to be way more successful picking up a girl that is wanting to be picked up than picking up a girl that is not wanting to be picked up. And I think this is key here. You know, a good hypnotist, for example, he goes into the crowd and he doesn't hypnotize everybody. He's good at hypnotizing because he knows which person to pick out of the crowd. He knows who will be hypnotized. So when the question is, how do I pick up a girl? Evaluate, what are you going to do with them after you pick them up? Okay, this is really important to know the strategy that you want to use. And then be able to evaluate the person who is willing to do that certain thing that you want, whether it's short term or long term or whatnot. So if you go to a bar, for example, or a club, and you see certain girls, your ability to evaluate which girl is going to want the one night stand is much more important than whatever you're going to say to the girl, because she already has the disposition, you know? That's already like 3/4 or 90% of the battle. Actually, your only objective there is to not mess it up because she's already willing. So that's a big one, is evaluating who the person you're talking to is and what they want. The second thing that I would say here is that you actually need to have, if you're going for a more long-term partner, which is probably what I would suggest. I think that it's more fulfilling, right? Everyone has their, their own wishes, but I personally think that long-term partners are more fulfilling. They just hold more purpose in your life, and they, if you choose, will really help you grow in the right way. And so a long-term partner, what you need to have in order to pick up a long-term partner is you really need to have a combination of confidence and empathy. And so, any person can just, if once they have a little bit of confidence, can go and make a fool out of themselves, right? And they did it, why? Because they're not so worried about embarrassing themselves. And that's what we call confidence, is being okay with embarrassing yourself, not having such a weak stomach for embarrassment. But then there's also empathy, which is important as well. Because I could go up to a girl, right now and say, hey, you look like this and like that, and I think you're really beautiful. Can I have your number? This is, yeah, it's very confident, but is it empathetic? Am I asking myself, or am I asking myself, like, how do I think that she perceives me right now? What is she thinking about what I'm saying to her? You know, and if I have this combination of confidence and empathy, then not only am I going to have the courage to say something to her, but I'll have the empathy to maybe say something to her that she would appreciate. And so people really like that, and they look up to that, and they really, especially women, really, really appreciate it. But this works with, men as well, because men can be turned off by things as well. If there's a woman and she's going up to a man, this has happened timeless times, that there's, it depends. It could be all sorts of women. I think pick-me girls get picked on a lot, but it could be all sorts of women, but there's always that confident girl that is asking herself why she never has a boyfriend, or why she's always single. And she's so confident, but I think she lacks a little bit of empathy. and she doesn't know how a boy will receive what she's saying. And sometimes she comes off a little bit too abrupt, and she says to him like, "Yeah, do you want to go out? And this is what I want, and this is what I'm looking for." And she's not really thinking so empathetic of maybe how is he perceiving what I'm saying to him. And so this is what I would say is that if you're going to go for a short-term partner, it's much more important who you pick out of the crowd. If you go for a long-term partner, it's still extremely important who you pick out of the crowd, but this time you really need to focus on having confidence and on having empathy. And I think that once you approach things with this point of view, you'll notice it's not so difficult to find the right things to say. So that's kind of all I wanted to say about that for now. If there's some more questions on that, I think this is a really interesting conversation to have. And yeah, if you have some thoughts that are similar to mine or some experiences from this, I'd love to hear them in the comments. And if you disagree, I'd love to hear that in the comments as well. What you think is a better strategy, long term, short term, with men, with women, with people that don't, fit into either of those boxes, what you might think. So please leave your comments. I'd be happy to read those. Bye-bye.